I knew something was off when the hostess asked if the rest of my party was running late. I smiled politely and said, "They're on their way." They weren't. I'd booked the rooftop table at Aurelia a week ago, 6 seats, 1 for each person. I thought would want to celebrate my promotion. My dad, my sister, my cousin Andrew, Aunt Denise, my college roommate Mara, and me, but apparently I was the only one who showed up. I wasn't angry. Not yet, just embarrassed. I sat in the corner under string lights wearing a blazer dress I'd bought just for the night. I even did my hair, which I usually just tossed into a bun every now and then. I glanced at the elevator, half hoping someone would step out with an apology and a hug. Instead, the server came back asking if I was ready to order. I asked for the wine list and picked something I hadn't tasted since grad school. As the sun dipped behind the Seattle skyline, I tried to look occupied. I checked Slack, responded to a team question, scrolled LinkedIn, anything to avoid looking like the woman who got stood up by her own family. Then came the ping, a text from Dad. I tapped it open. "You're not exactly our priority right now. We'll catch up later. Enjoy dinner." "No. Sorry, no congrats, just a quiet rejection." Dressed up as courtesy, I looked around. The terrace hummed with toasts, birthday wishes, and clinking forks sat with my wine, my silence, and 5 empty seats. And for the first time I finally understood I was never the guest of honor, just the one expected to host that night. I went home and didn't even turn on the lights. I sat on the edge of my bed, still in heels, phone in hand, staring at that message like it was a snapshot of everything I never wanted to admit but couldn't stop replaying. "You're not exactly our priority right now," echoed, and suddenly so did everything else. The birthdays, they missed the time I helped Andrew with rent just until he found another job and never got so much as a thank you. The 1 a.m. calls from Isla crying over breakups or botched interviews, expecting me to fix it. I wasn't just forgotten, I was being bled dry after my mom lost her second job and Dad passed away. Things unraveled slowly like water leaking through ceiling tiles. You don't notice until the whole room stinks of mold. At first I didn't mind. I worked in digital strategy, made good money, lived alone. Helping felt natural, but over time, helping turned into handling, then into expected. I paid half the mortgage on the house I hadn't lived in since college, took over the utilities, bought Isla a second-hand car when hers died, and I footed the entire Thanksgiving catering bill, only to sit quietly while everyone toasted Andrew's brilliant next venture. "You're just so good at managing things," Mom would say, her voice that familiar blend of pride and manipulation. "Not everyone's built like you, sweetheart." And I believed her. I believed being strong meant sacrificing. But that night I realized they weren't building a family, they were building comfort, and I was paying for it. "He's doing something for himself," Mom said. "It's not like he has anyone else looking out for him." I just stared at her. "And who's been looking out for me?" She didn't answer, just gave me that patronizing little pat on the hand like I was being dramatic. "You always help, it's just who you are." Maybe it was, maybe I'd been raised into it, shaped into it, the dependable daughter, the fixer, the one no one worries about because everyone assumes she already has everything figured out. But that night, sitting in the dark, my heels still on my phone, burning cold in my palm, I finally saw it for what it was. Being the strong one doesn't mean you're loved more, it just means they think you can take more, and For 5 years they called it generosity, I called it obligation, but after that dinner I started calling it what it really was. Not just money, emotional debt, guilt, expectation. I don't know how long I sat there scrolling through old transfers, apology texts, faded photos, trying to spot the moment I stopped being seen as family and started being used. Maybe I always was, maybe I just didn't want to see it. Then my phone buzzed again. I hesitated, half hoping for an apology, a check-in. It wasn't. It was a photo sent by Natalie. The whole family stood smiling in front of a waterfront bistro. Mom, Tyler, Natalie, Uncle Jack. Tyler held a shiny motorcycle key, throwing a peace sign, caption, celebrating the dreamer. He finally got his moment, and the timestamp. Exactly 1 hour after Mom told me I wasn't a priority. They didn't forget. They chose. If you've ever been the strong one in the room, the one everyone leans on but no one sees, hit subscribe. Elena's story isn't over, and in the next part she stops being their safety net and starts building her own future. You won't want to miss what happens next. It doesn't come with fire, it comes with stillness, a kind so sharp it slices through every excuse you've ever made for the people who were supposed to care. Tyler didn't earn that celebration, he absorbed it, and I paid for it literally. They called him the dreamer, the one with potential. I was just the net, the fallback, the invisible hand that caught the pieces when everyone else fell apart. They only noticed me when I stopped holding the rope. I didn't cry, didn't rage, didn't send a single message. I stood up, slipped off my heels, and walked barefoot into the kitchen. I poured another glass of wine, opened my laptop. A file I hadn't touched in months sat at the top of my screen. Family support. Private, do not solaced. Each tab had a name, each line an amount: rent, repairs, groceries, birthdays, bailouts. 5 years color-coded like a heartbreak map. By the last tab the total stared back. $82,410.37. It's not the money, the energy, the emotional labor, the default setting. Alina will handle it, and I had every single time, but not anymore. I logged into the shared mortgage account, the one Mom had asked me to temporarily manage after Dad died. Next payment 6 days. $1,830. Autopay still linked to me. I clicked cancel autopay. No guilt message, no R. You sure? Just a green check mark. I stared at the screen, then grabbed my keys. Seattle was cold that night. Still one of those rare nights when the world pauses for clarity. At my mother's doorstep I didn't ring the bell, I just pulled a sticky note from my purse, wrote 5 words, and pressed it to the door. Let him handle it now. Underneath I wrote in smaller print, you raised me to care for everyone else. You never taught me how to care for myself. Then I turned, walked to my car, and drove home. No music, no tears, just the low hum of the engine and the sharp, steady rhythm of my own heartbeat. Some people announced their boundaries with speeches. I set mine with silence and a sticky note. The next morning I woke to 42 missed calls, 17 from Mom, 9 from Tyler, a few from Natalie, 1 from Uncle Jay, the rest unknown numbers. I didn't check, I didn't answer, but I did listen to the voicemails. The first was Mom, voice tight, frantic, trying and failing to sound calm. Helena, what did you do? The bank called about the mortgage. It bounced. You can't just do that without warning. Tyler's finally doing well. You're going to mess it all up. This isn't how family behaves. That line, this isn't how family behaves. Funny, because ghosting your daughter on the biggest night of her Life sure didn't feel like family then. Came Tyler, agitated, entitled, seriously. You just cut us off like that? You're making Mom panic. We were figuring it out. You could have at least talked to us. Like they talked to me before throwing that dinner. The third was Natalie, older than the others, so now you're punishing us over one dinner. Grow up, Elena. You always act like some martyr. Tyler's been working hard. He finally gets a win and you make it about you. That one lingered want dinner as if that's all it was. I sat on the couch, phone in hand, scrolling through the missed calls like puzzle pieces that would never form an apology. No one said sorry, no one asked if I was okay. They didn't care that something broke, only that it wasn't me doing the fixing. It was never about what I gave, it was about how quietly I gave the moment I stayed silent. I was valuable the moment I said no. I was the problem. Later that afternoon a text came in from Cam, my old college roommate, one of the few people who actually knew what my family was like. Hey, my mom said your mom called her, said you're spiraling, that you're having some kind of breakdown. You okay? I stared at it for a beat, then replied, no, I'm not spiraling. I'm finally standing still. Cam didn't ask for more, just texted back, out of you for real. And somehow that hit harder than all the voicemails combined, because it was the first time someone didn't ask me to explain, to fix, to smile through it. They just saw me. The more I replayed the voicemails, the clearer it became. I haven't let anyone down. I just stopped absorbing the fall, and for my family, that was betrayal. I didn't expect anyone to take my side, so when my phone rang again that evening and Uncle Jay's name popped up, I almost didn't answer, but he'd always been different, quiet, reserved, observant. I picked up. Hey, I said, my voice steady. He hesitated. Elena, your mom's a mess. You've got to talk to her. I let the silence settle. Did she say I'm the problem? He sighed. She says she didn't know how. Left out you felt. I gave a dry laugh. She texted me, Jay, you're not exactly a priority. Her words. You didn't reply right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was low. I think she just assumed you'd always handle it. Nodded, even though he couldn't see. Yeah, they all did. You were never the weak one. Uncle Jay said you were just too generous. That line stayed with me. Not because it fixed anything, but because for the first time someone in my family acknowledged the truth without twisting it, and in that moment I felt something I hadn't felt since all of this began. Relief, not validation, not pity, just the quiet feeling of being seen. 3 days after I canceled the mortgage payment, my mom showed up at my apartment. No text, no warning, just there. When I opened the door, she stood on the threshold with a tote bag in one hand and a worn photo in the other. I recognized it immediately. Me, age 6, dressed as a sunflower in my kindergarten play. She used to say it was her favorite picture of me. I didn't invite her in. I just stepped aside. She entered slowly, like she didn't recognize the place. Her eyes scanned the bookshelves, the windows, the art. No family portraits, no holiday cards, no traces of her. You redecorated, she said. I removed what didn't belong, I replied. She winced, then sat on the edge of the couch, clutching the photo like it might protect her. We're going to lose the house, she said. I nodded. You can stop this, she whispered. One call to the bank. And no, I said, firm. She blinked like she misheard. No, I'm not calling. I'm not making the payment. I'm done. Her face changed, shock slipping into anger. Lena, this isn't just about money. This is about family. I almost laughed. No, I said again calmly, it's exactly about money. Because that's all I've ever been to you. She opened her mouth searching for a defense. Nothing came. You didn't even pretend to care. I continued. You didn't say sorry. You didn't ask if I got home safe. You only came when the payment failed. She looked down at the photo resting in her lap. I didn't realize how much you were covering, she whispered. That's the problem. I said. You didn't want to realize it. You wanted me to do it quietly so you didn't have to think about it. She shook her head slowly. Tyler's not like you. He needs more help. No, I replied. Steady needs consequences. She looked up. Her eyes were glassy. He's your brother and I'm your daughter. Silence. I didn't think you'd actually walk away. I didn't walk away. I said I stopped being used. She gripped the edges of the photo tighter, searching for a move. You sadness. Deflection. None of it worked this time. What are we supposed to do? She asked. I don't know, I said. Figure it out like I did, like adults do. She stared at me, and in that moment I didn't see a mother. I saw a woman who had leaned so long on her daughter's strength she forgot she was supposed to have her own. Eventually she stood, brushed out her blouse and picked up her bag. At the door she paused. Is this really the end? I didn't answer. Immediately I thought about all the one-sided birthdays, the calls that only came with needs, the love that came with invoices. It's the end of me pretending this was love, I said softly. She didn't argue. She nodded, opened the door and left. No slamming, no theatrics, just silence, and for once it didn't feel hollow. It felt earned. The next morning I checked the shared mortgage account. It's still empty. No one had tried. They were waiting for me to fold, to cave, to save them by noon. The group chat was renamed 3 times. Emergency Mortgage Crisis Family Unity chat, complete with a broken heart emoji and a waving hand. I muted it. Didn't open any of the messages except one, a text from Uncle Jay. Told them this would happen. You were never the weak one. Elena is too generous. I took a screenshot, saved it, because when you spent years questioning your worth, even one clear sentence can feel like armor. 2 days later the bank called. A woman mispronounced my name, cleared her throat, then asked, we've noticed the last 2 mortgage payments haven't processed. Is there a reason for the interruption? I kept my voice even. I'm not the responsible party. I was removed from the title 3 years ago. You've been listed as the financial contact. Of course I had. That was always the plan. Quietly catching the fallout. That's no longer the case, I said. Pause, then a polite thank you line. Disconnected. That evening Tyler showed up, not at my door but in the parking lot. He pulled up on his shiny black motorcycle like a peace offering wrapped in delusion, unglasses. At 6 p.m. pacing and yelling into his phone. I didn't go down. I didn't need to. I knew the rhythm. Panic, blame, guilt. Reset. This time I watched from the window, arms crossed, and for once I felt nothing. No pull to protect, no guilt. They weren't falling apart because I stopped caring. They were falling apart because they never learned to stand without me. The next day was payday. For the first time in years my account was untouched. No mortgage, no emergency, no quiet bleed. I forced myself to ignore. The number was whole and I didn't feel guilty. I felt centered. I made real coffee, sat on my balcony in the sun and watched the world do its thing. Same trees, same neighbors. But it all looked different because I was different. That afternoon I closed the shared mortgage account, deleted the login. I opened a new folder. What I owe myself. Not money, time, peace, no rest, birthdays. Later that week I booked a solo trip to Lisbon, bought the leather jacket, signed up for a writing workshop, and when my phone buzzed with an unknown number I didn't answer because I already knew it wasn't love calling, it was just the echo of people who only noticed when I stopped carrying everything for them. So I poured another cup of tea and kept writing. Some people lose their family when they walk away. I lost mine the day they decided I wasn't a priority in the end. I just had to agree with them. If you've ever been the quiet one holding everything together, I hope you'll leave a comment below. Tell me I'm not alone. Share your story, and if this moment hit you hard, hit subscribe, because sometimes walking away isn't weakness, it's clarity. My only advice: don't wait for a breakdown to set boundaries. You deserve peace without having to earn it through exhaustion. Let's start choosing ourselves unapologetically. English, auto-generated.